At this point, I'm just going to wear this hoodie for every video because, at least for this video, it makes sense. As a football fan, I can tell you that I have cringed several times whenever Indian cinema is focused on sports because the producers have this odd idea of how they should be picturized. It's always over the top, it's always breaking rules, and you wonder whether we will do something with authenticity. If the only two examples of Indian cinema focusing on football are Dhandanadan Goal and Bigil, Medan is that gold mine that I would recommend not only to film fans but football fans as well. Never have I been so on the edge of my seat, anticipating the next thing, gasping, being shocked at several circumstances, while knowing what the outcome is. That's the beauty of capturing a sport. Medan's really hit it out of the park. It deserves a lot of love. I'm an avid football fan, and I often find myself with friends after a game of 6 on 6 or while watching the Premier League asking why India, with the population that it has, just has not been capable of reaching the global stage in the world of football. How are third world countries across the globe with a population less than some of our states been capable of producing such global stars while we are still nowhere to be seen? The more you explore the sheer bureaucracy, red tape, and lack of infrastructure and forward thinking that exists in the Football Federation of India even today, the more you will reflect on this era, considered to be the golden era of football, depicted in Maidan as a feat that is truly exemplary. It's been heartbreaking to see the box office reception of this film that I absolutely fell in love with. A film that made me jump with joy, cheer, and clap as if I was watching a live football match. That's the power of storytelling, isn't it? That even when you know the final outcome, you find yourself in careful anticipation of what may happen next. I was so overwhelmed by the sheer organic reactions in the theatre, reacting to each goal line clearance, each shot on target, as if their favorite club was playing their arch rival. Maidan focuses on the decade from 1952 to 1962, shedding light on Team India and their oscillating performances as they compete in several Olympics across continents and eventually the Asian Games under coach Saeed Abdul Rahim, played by Ajay Devgn. The several management issues, financial constraints, and roadblocks that the coach has to deal with in order to formulate his best team to compete on the global stage, only for it to reach an iconic win at the Asian Games, forms the basic premise of this beautiful and inspiring tale, directed by Amit Sharma. Here's me telling you the good and bad aspects of the film so that you guys can ultimately decide whether to watch Medan in theaters or not. The underwhelming aspects: incompetent federation and conspiring individuals. When one tells a tale that is embroiled in several stumbling blocks in the course of wanting to achieve something insurmountable, you are bound to come across individuals who would want nothing but your downfall. This is where the movie lays focus on some incompetent officials in the federation and give a lot of importance to a vindictive journalist, Roy Chaudhary, played by Gajraj Rao. As the movie is 3 hours long, it's tough to fully get invested in the petty nature of these sorry individuals, while you've got the most inspirational tale to tell. I understand it's a storytelling method incorporated in order to just give us a glimpse of what Saeed Abdul Rahim may have endured, having to deal with everything other than football, but Gajraj Rao and Rudranil Ghosh and their constant pursuit to seek for Indian football's downfall gets slightly tiring. They are constantly over a glass of whiskey or samosas thinking about their next move in order to sabotage any progress being made by the coach. This involves hit job articles and political conspiracy, and at one point of time, I started to wonder, no matter how much an individual hates another human, there's no way they would be so miserable seeing the success of their own nation. While all of this comes around, I would have been way more interested in knowing the tactics and gameplay employed by the coach and what made the Indian team special in that era versus the chugliness of this all. It seemed a bit distracting for the most part. You remember watching Jubilee and absolutely disconnecting with the espionage Russia angle where they're tapping into phones with the pursuit of producing propaganda films? You wanted more Jay and Nilofer, not all of this political BS. I felt the same here too. What made India persevere? This is the only thing that I felt was slightly missing in the otherwise beautiful screenplay. What was it other than the sheer determination of these players that made them actually beat powerhouses on the global stage? Would they park the bus and be conservative with their gameplay like what Jose Mourinho employed so many times? Would they be fluid and attacking irrespective of their opponent, something like what Klopp does with Liverpool? Is it going to be the high press like Pep employs with Man City, especially in high pressure games? I wanted to know more about the chemistry between the players and the tactics employed by the coach. This would have added another layer to the film beyond the players just being inherently talented. You get some glimpses of how the Indian team improvises dependent on their opponents, especially as they compete against Japan and South Korea. I just wish more of that became the focus versus Ajay Devgn having to deal with Gajraj Rao's antics. The good. Sad state of affairs and a tale of pride. The film really gets you riled up, for you see all the problems in front of you of why India has not reached a stage where we can tune in as a nation as they compete in the most elite competitions. The film provides an insight on how we as a nation are also embroiled in so many of our own internal conflicts that we never really stand up for the united cause of India. Saeed Abdul Rahim finds himself constantly in conversations with those in positions of power regarding state representation, but no one is really speaking about the game and what can propel a team based on merit. This is just a dramatic tale on real events, but I can't even begin to think what the individual journey of the coach and the scrutiny and criticism he must have faced on a daily basis. We live in a country obsessed with cricket, a global powerhouse in so many ways, where we as a nation are dictating so much of how the global frameworks and the calendar of cricket work. But somehow this same energy is not dispersed for a sport that truly has a global audience. I've dreamt of days where India would be facing one of the big powerhouses in the World Cup. Could you imagine the atmosphere in the stadium? While watching the film and seeing just the sheer bureaucracy the coach was dealing with, I could not help but have a bittersweet feeling. The dichotomy of having a sense of pride of what we achieved in that era, but sadness too, because we never reached that level of greatness again. Actual gameplay visuals. The two examples of Indian movies that have actually attempted to focus on the sport of football are Dhan Dhana Dhan Goal and Bigil. While the Hindi film attempted an understated approach, it was far from being an exhilarating experience. The less said about the comical sequences of football in Bigil, the better. Medan is miles ahead, and I would confess is of international standards when it comes to the gameplay of football. It is so well shot. Fyodor Lyas has apparently shot all the visuals of the matches, and they are exhilarating and, more importantly, authentic. It reminded me of the sequences from the movie Goal, if you remember, that released in 2005. You could just feel the energy and atmosphere in the stadium of those sequences as Santiago Munez plays for Newcastle. Some sequences use POV shots that immediately took me back to my favorite Nike ad as well. I wholeheartedly have to tell you that this is a film meant for the theatre experience, because it organically makes you react and clap and cheer while several developments take place in the game. The crowd in the theatre unexplainably found themselves gasping and having a bit of anxiety with the prospect that India may lose, all while knowing what the outcome will be. Social context. When you see the time in which the movie is set, you realize the sheer volatile nature of the world at that time. Just after the Second World War, just a few years after India's independence, so much of the new world order was being established during these international events. The level of abuse and racism the Indian team faced cannot even be imagined. The privileged white gaze and acting as if the trip to these international locations should suffice for second-class brown people like us will enrage you as a viewer. The thought of us even competing made them chuckle, but this is where the team's zeal and determination really shines through the film, and credit to Amit Sharma, the director, who really builds this well as it becomes an underdog story for the ages. Imagine the nervousness for the political unrest the Indian team were dealing with just before the final. It's insane on what they achieved despite the circumstances around them. I mean, these are players who went from playing barefoot to finally getting accustomed to shoes, and imagine with that learning curve, they went on to win the Asian Games. Ajay Devgn and the individual journey. I absolutely fell in love with Ajay Devgn's performance in this film. You see the love and passion he has for the sport, his constant pursuit of excellence, his short attention span for BS, his categorical attempt at making his players learn from their mistakes, and his ability to make sure that the amalgamation of players unite as one. As Ajay physically deteriorates, you see the perseverance in his eyes. The goal is far too great for him to give up despite his ailing state. His family dynamic, which many may find distracting, actually adds so much context to how he is as a person. Priyamani acts as a solid rock as his wife Saira, who dreams just like him, hoping for greatness for the Indian team. As Ajay momentarily falters and forgets about his true passion, Priyamani beautifully performs a scene reminding him of his purpose in life. Ajay as the coach, especially in the sequences where he addresses the players, really puts forth a performance that will be remembered for years, of a star who just did not coast through the film but fully committed just like the team he is coaching. While the running time could have been cut slightly, I must confess, the last 40 minutes of the film are pure gold. And this really becomes, in my books, one of the best sports films made in Indian cinema that deserves your attention and way more love than it is receiving at the cash registers. And that was a video, guys. Write down in the comments below what you thought about Medan. Please don't forget to follow me on Instagram. The handle is right in front of you. Follow me at JammyPants4. Also, please support us by smashing the like button and subscribing to our channel for weekly content ahead. Thank you for watching.